I'm willing to take the risk that most of you currently watching this video are fans of racing games. And if this does indeed apply to you in particular, dear viewer, then I do have a few questions.
This thing fucking sucks.
Do you really enjoy the wheel spins in the Forza games? Because I don't think you do. Do you find the story of the current Need for Speed games narratively fulfilling or at least entertaining? Because I don't think you do either. Do you actually like the excessive and aggressive microtransactions that EA barely attempts to justify? No. See, the truth is, modern racing games have a ton of extra fat packed into the top of meaty core of the game. And there's nothing wrong with having extra fat packed in here and there. I love me BBWs, beef bulgogi with a side of fries. You see, what I listed at the very beginning of this video are not examples of fat, but examples of what I would like to call olestra. In real life, olestra is an artificial fat substitute, something that's mixed in with real fat to help generate more profit out of the product at a great cost to the overall quality and integrity of the meat. In my meat-based analogy for racing games, olestra does the exact same thing. It dulls the overall flavor of the dish and can turn the most bold flavors into tasteless gray gelatin. It also makes your asshole leak like Deepwater Horizon. And you probably don't play racing games for gambling, now do you? Like olestra, natural fat doesn't usually draw eyes towards a meal, but unlike olestra, it is nevertheless enjoyed. Some stuff that falls under this umbrella includes custom car tunings, livery editors, character customization, track builders, pile of meat but with car, actually enjoyable story content, and so on and so forth. Like I said, you don't usually pick out a steak because of its fat content, but as long as it's natural and pairs well with the flavor profile, then sure, there's nothing wrong with a bit of fat. But the more fatty a particular recipe is, the more likely it will also have more olestra in there too. Sure, some plates have more olestra than others, and some plates have less olestra than others, but sometimes you don't want to eat something fatty at all. I personally like my weighty, fatty slab of juicy ribeye just as much as I like a steaming hot slice of lean chicken breast. And recently, there's been a particularly flavorful and delicious cut of poultry that I keep coming back to. But fair warning, this dish carries an incredibly potent and powerful pathogen. Its symptoms have been deeply ingrained into my flesh and soul. Under its effects, your head will spin faster than the spokes of a wheel, brain foggy with the grain of the asphalt passing rapidly beneath you. Your airways will beg for nitrous so the bio engine of your heart can burn away the fuel within you. Your eyes will sparkle like high beams on a deep, murky night. Your fingers long for your knuckles to be tinted a pale white, and your body begs for the G-forces to hold it back into your seat. Veins course with octane and gasoline, breath glowing red, smelling of ethanol and brimstone. Forget your sim rig, forget your steering wheel, for when you are truly one with your vehicle, you will have no need of it. Set alight your motor spirit, for the only cure is visceral speed and violent acceleration. For when the world is a blur, your only instinct is to smear it more. For you too will indulge in pure terminal velocity, and you will develop chronic TrackMania. An overlooked game in an overlooked series, TrackMania to me remains one of the games I will vehemently recommend to anyone who is remotely interested in playing an arcade racer. Compared to all the other TrackMania games, it's probably my favorite out of all of them. The newest one is to Ubisoft, and all the other games just don't click for me as well. But Turbo? Oh, TrackMania Turbo scratches an itch I never knew I had. Specifically, the itch located 1.34 inches on the left side of my jungle bridge. It's so deceptive in its simplicity, a beautiful nature to its bluntness. Like I said earlier, I would definitely classify it as a lean game. There's no fat in upgrades, tunings, new parts, new cars, or anything really for car-based progression. This is a feature, not a bug. The entire game is structured around this fact, thanks to its time trial-based format. Essentially, each race isn't about getting first place, but getting the best time. Sure, you can see the record of different times racing alongside you, just like normal opponents would, but they're more of a point of reference for the other times on the leading board right next to you. So you don't really have to worry about fighting for positions or Lance Stroll doing whatever the fuck he does these days, or anything of the sort. They're not really there, it's just you, the track, and the clock. If the ghost is ahead of you, it just means it's doing better than you right now. And if it's behind you, that means it's going to be doing worse than you in the current moment. You are both in the same car, on the same track, both racing against the same clock. And when you beat that time and are ready to move on to the next track, the next one will be slightly more difficult than the last, in a slow but gradual difficulty curve, keeping things just barely out of reach. But regardless, the name of the game is still improvement. And that little blue time split text indicator is wired directly into the Monkey Cocaine Party Central Spirit Halloween Grease Fire nerve center within my brain. And it's even more effective when your greatest enemy will always be right there with you every step of the way. Your best attempt on the track will always be shown alongside you no matter what, and you're your own worst critic after all. So this time trial aspect allows races to range on the shorter side, from 20 or so seconds to 3-ish minutes, as the slightest mistake will certainly end a good attempt. But all you have to do is press B, and you've dusted yourself off, and you're back at your feet immediately, ready to try again. You fuck up, it's your fault. Nothing else to blame it on, no one else to run you off the road. So you get up and give it another go. That's why I like to think of TrackMania as the Super Meat Boy or Hotline Miami of racing games. It's a refinement of simple core gameplay mechanics into a razor's edge, one that only gets finer as you unlock more and more tracks. With every attempt, seconds are shaved off, dancing with a pendulum of emotions swinging between a calm meditative flow state and a twitchy, obsessive hyper-focus. Eyes darting between the split timer and the track. And oh boy, you don't need to click or try me, just show me some of those blue numbers, man. Trust me, trust me. You will always, and I mean always, find a track to dump more hours into, and a record that needs improving. And after a couple dozen more attempts, maybe you'll get him, or maybe you won't, and you'll keep going. And just because this is a leaner game with less fat on it doesn't mean it doesn't have a lot of meat on its bones. Sure, there's only 4 cars, but they all control completely differently with their own quirks and handling models, not to mention they each have their own biome and section of the campaign to themselves. That means that every track is designed for one specific car so that they all fit into their respective roles. If there was 20 cars, do you know how much work there would be just to have every track be for a different car and so on and so forth? And on top of that, this game has 200 tracks alone, and with a huge variety of environments and race types, not even counting the extra tracks, track builder, and the entire database of player-made tracks to chip through. It's a breath of fresh air, especially when most major titles today seem to be more concerned about with getting their asses released than considering if they should be released at all in their current state. I mean, look at Forza Motorsport. It is so far gone that it resembles more of a great value expired strip of bacon than the Michelin 5-star top sirloin that it once was. And its buddy Gran Turismo's right there next to it in the clearance bin. Look, if you're well and truly a fan of where these franchises are going, then, you know what, I suggest you get a time machine and dial the year back to 1930, whatever the fuck, and head over to the Great Plains region of the US. You'll find more of what these games have in store for you there. Yet TM Turbo, with all of its meat, still doesn't drag you away from the steering wheel for a second to bog you down with some Illustra you don't want to deal with. Sure, there's some fat missing here and there. I know personally I would like to see a better livery editor and more character customization, but I can't really eat donuts and stack them on my dick at the same time, so, you know, it's whatever. To me, though, these pros of this lack of fat in Illustra weigh just as much as the cons do. It's a fair trade-off in my opinion, because you don't have to cut around chunks of some bland Alestra and spend a good while chewing before the true flavor really hits your tongue. You just pick up the fucking drumstick and take a bite, dude. It's an instant taste of savory and spice, a combination of flavor that pairs perfectly with some good tunes to accompany it with. Speaking of which, here are some recommendations. But regardless of your music choice, the game still remains easy to pick up, hard to master. When you open up the game for the first time, it doesn't place a tutorial in the way of the player. It just drops you feet first into the first race, with only you, your car, and the tarmac ahead. And then gives you the time to beat, tempting you towards TrackMania.